I wanted to ask you, he keeps talking about his record in the 90s, this and that. Do you think that it's kind of counterintuitive that people don't want to hear about 20 years ago and are more focused on, the Donald Trump venom-breathing kind of politics?
Well, no, I think the record of the 90s is important, but so is the record of the 2000 when he took Ohio from the dire straits and turned it around. 412,000 new jobs, an $8 billion deficit to a $2 billion surplus, a 16% income tax cut, and that's real revival, that's real reform. And so he talked a lot about his record in Ohio, but the notion about his Washington record is critical because others are talking about how they want to take on the special interests. John Kasich is the only one on that stage that actually did it, and he did it at a time that was very difficult. Bill Clinton was in the White House. And so he wants to remind people that he took on the special interest before it was fashionable at a Republican presidential debate.
But up against the Trump wave, do you think that kind of positive talk where policy seems to be so vogue, do you think that's going to resonate?
Well, it is resonating. I mean, there's a new poll out this week that showed Kasich and Cruz and Trump in the states that are still yet to have primaries in a three-way tie. And we see that in Ohio, Trump has plateaued and he's actually falling in support where Kasich is rising. We had a huge, strong finish in Michigan. 43% of late deciders swung to Kasich. So that's what's going on. And I think as Kasich gets more of a chance, more of a platform to show that he has the record, but not just in the past, I think you have a good point, but going forward in the future, for job creation, for economic growth, for revival, for reform, that's going to start to play itself out.
And you mentioned in Ohio tax cuts. He built 412,000 jobs. On the national level, that tax cuts under George W. Bush skewed towards the wealthy, deregulation.
Oh, that's not true.
Yeah, it was true. George W. Bush skewed taxes for the wealthy.
No, absolutely, that's not the case. He actually lowered the lowest bracket and took a lot of people off the income tax rolls altogether. I was there. I worked for President George W. Bush.
So you're saying his tax cuts of 2001, 2003 were equal for all levels?
That we lowered the lowest income bracket, which took millions of Americans, took them off the rolls entirely.
So why is the concentration of wealth gone so high up towards the 1%, if that's what happened?
That's not a result of tax policy.
What's that a result of?
Well, that's for economists and socialists to talk.
What do you think?
Well, I think that income inequality is an important issue in this country, and I think that John Kasich has a program.
Well, I'm saying, what do you think is the reason? Yeah. What do you think is the reason?
Well, that we have stagnant wages because we don't have high-skilled jobs anymore, and that more people have quit the labor force, that more kids are going to college and coming out, and they can't find jobs because we have, a very stagnant economy, because we have crushing regulation, because we have Obamacare that took over 1/4 of the U.S. economy. We have small businesses paying 3 times as much for health care who don't want to hire additional workers because they can't afford the health care. Our own premiums tripled. That's dollars that can't be spent in the economy to create a single job, to hire a single employee. So I think it's a result of a lot of things.
America is a miracle country, and we have to restore the sense that the miracle will apply to you. Each and every one of the people in this country who's watching tonight, lift everybody, unite everybody, and build a stronger United States of America.
In terms of Ohio, you mentioned the tax cuts and some other things. What else would our viewers not know that he did in Ohio?
Well, he worked together on the education system in the Cleveland Public Schools, which was a huge thing. He got reelected by 66% of the vote in Ohio. He brought auto working jobs from Mexico back to Ohio. This is John Kasich's done these things. Donald Trump talks about these things. Kasich's actually done them. He's going to be at a glass factory in Dayton, which is a Chinese glass factory that is opening in Dayton, employing 1,000 Ohio workers. And it's not just in glass and auto workers, it's in manufacturing. You think about the Cleveland Clinic. I don't know if you've been to Cleveland lately, but it is a shining new city with medical technology and professional services and IT. It's been a broad, thorough, deep kind of recovery in the state of Ohio, and it's not just focused in any one area.
Do you think in the general election, if he were the nominee, he'd be vulnerable because of accepting President Obama's Medicaid expansion?
No, I don't think so at all. I think that that was a conservative move in that it took the tax money that Ohio taxpayers had paid and brought it back to Ohio. John Kasich believes strongly in local control, and he felt that better to have those funds, and he felt it was the right thing to do to get the health care to low-income people. But he did so in a way that reformed the Medicaid system, and we actually slowed the growth in the Medicaid program in Ohio, and that's the kind of program he wants to take for the federal. We can do more with the resources that we have if we get the bureaucracy out of the way and get the funds and the care to the people who actually need it versus funding more bureaucracy.
We'll see you Monday in Ohio.
Okay.